Story number 2 for this week's edition of the Rolling Stone concerns the latest man to throw his hat into the arena for President Mike Bloomberg. And you know, it's about time, I think, that we talked a little bit about Mike Bloomberg, the former mayor of New York City, because we've talked about Pete Buttigieg a lot, actually. In these videos, we've talked about Elizabeth Warren a couple of times as well. They just open themselves up to so much commentary, honestly. But now it is time to take a moment and talk about Mike Bloomberg, because, as you know, probably, he entered the race very late, right? I think it was just about 10 weeks ago. And what he did was actually very unique in presidential politics, because he entered the race so late that he was ineligible to be on the ballot for the Democratic Iowa caucuses, the New Hampshire primary, the South Carolina primary, or the Nevada primary, which are the first 4 primaries, right, in an election year. These are seen as the big primaries. Sort of like you kind of weed out the men from, I'm not sure if I want to say that, but you kind of weed, it's a process of elimination. It's a process of elimination. If someone wins Iowa and New Hampshire and Nevada and South Carolina, it's pretty much guaranteed that they are going to be the nominee. The more primaries and caucuses that you win, the more and more steam and power that you have behind you. Mike Bloomberg said, heck with that. I'm not even going to worry about Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, or Nevada. I am going to be focusing on later primaries, later caucuses, like Wisconsin and Michigan. And because he is also a bona fide billionaire, he has just been pouring a ton of money into a digital campaign, which honestly has actually been pretty effective. I'm sure that if you've been on YouTube within the last couple of weeks, you haven't been able to watch a video without seeing at least one, more likely 2 or 3 ads from Mike Bloomberg's campaign. And honestly, they are very well made. Very well made. But that's not what we're talking about here this week. That is Mike Bloomberg. That's Mike Bloomberg. But because he entered the race so lately, and because now, whether this is true or not, and I tend to see it more on the true side, he is trying to buy the election, which is something that all the other candidates have accused him of. A lot of video clips of him from his time as New York City's mayor and immediately after he retired and everything, have surfaced, right? So there's the claim, for example, that one of his staff members asked for time off from him because she was going to have a baby, and his response was, "Just kill it, just kill it." Okay, pretty harsh, especially for a guy who's trying to position himself as the kind-hearted philanthropist who is spending his own hard-earned money to run for president so he can defeat Donald Trump so that we all can have a much better future. He really is a patrician in the older sense of the word. That's the image that he's trying to give off. That's his brand. So that came up. And then this past week, another video of him came up, okay? And this was actually about farmers, okay? It came from a university forum in 2016 where he appeared to say that farmers are dumber than tech workers, okay? Mike Bloomberg, 2016, at this university forum said, quote, "The agrarian society lasted 3,000 years. And we could teach processes. I could teach anybody, even people in this room, no offense intended, to be a farmer. It's a process. You dig a hole, you put a seed in, you put dirt on top, add water, up comes the corn. You could learn that. Then we had 300 years of the industrial industry. You put the piece of metal on the lathe, you turn the crank in the direction of the arrow, and you can have a job. And we created a lot of jobs. At one point, 98% of the world worked in agriculture. Now it's 2% in the United States. Now comes the information economy. And the information economy is fundamentally different because it's built around replacing people with technology. And the skill sets that you have to learn are how to think and analyze. And that is a whole degree level different. You have to have a different skill set. You have to have a lot more gray matter. It's not clear. The teachers can teach or the students can learn. And so the challenge of society of finding jobs for these people who we can take care of, giving them a roof over their head and a meal in their stomach and a cell phone in a car and that sort of thing. But the thing that is the most important that will stop them from setting up a guillotine someday is the dignity of the job. Okay? Now, a lot of people, a lot of commentators, that was a long quote, my apology, but I wanted you to get the whole thing that he said. A lot of people, a lot of commentators, they were, rightfully making fun of what he had said. Like, oh, really, like tech workers are smarter than farmers, really? And some people were even saying that he could pretty much kiss whatever support he might have had in the Midwest goodbye. Because, of course, the Midwest is very rural, right? It's still very, agriculture is still very prominent in the Midwest. I wouldn't go that far. That's the first thing, because you think of the great urban centers here in the Midwest. You think of Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, Missouri, and Kansas. You think of Omaha, okay, just to give 4 examples. Whoever the Democrat candidate is for president, those urban centers, those cities here in the Midwest, they're going to vote for the Democratic candidate for president. Okay? You can, that's not even a prediction. Okay? Donald Trump is not going to win Chicago. He just isn't. The groundwork hasn't been set for anybody outside of the left to win in Chicago. The same goes for St. Louis, Kansas City, etc., etc., etc. Okay? So I think it's a little premature for people to say that, well, Bloomberg's support in the Midwest, it's gone now, hasta la vista. No, that's a little premature. Now, to his comments themselves, okay? The funny thing is that part of what he said was actually right. Okay? The part where he was saying that it takes a different kind of intelligence to be a farmer versus a tech worker, and it takes a different set of skills to be a farmer versus a tech worker, that's something that I can get behind. I think that that's something that every person who identifies as conservative or as someone on the right should be able to get behind, because that's what we believe, or we're supposed to believe. In fact, I think that it's in his book, Intellectuals and Society, that Dr. Thomas Sowell makes this point, right? He says different jobs, right? Different career paths, different fields. They require different kinds of intelligence and different skills. And in fact, he weaves this beautifully into a reason for why the free market system is the best economic system that you can have. Because, like he says, because of that diversification of knowledge, right? One single individual can't know everything that there is to know about everything. So, for example, you can be a brilliant brain surgeon, right? Absolutely brilliant, the top of your field, internationally well known. That doesn't mean that you're going to be able to, fix a plumbing problem that you have in your house, right? Because you don't know the first thing about plumbing or of electricity, or even something. You could be a brilliant philosopher, right? We're talking about, the level of Aristotle. You could be the next Aristotle, okay? In modern philosophy, right? In the modern day. That doesn't mean that your opinions about politics is valid, right? Because politics, political theory, political science, it could be seen as a subgenre in philosophy, but it is very different from philosophy, especially when we get into the more transcendental realms of philosophy, like metaphysics and epistemology and ontology and things like that, right? So, just because of that, right? Different skills, different people, different jobs and everything require different sets of intelligences and different skill sets. There's nothing controversial about that. Yes, if you're a farmer, you're not going to be dumb, but your intelligence is going to be very different from a tech worker. Your skills are going to be different from a tech worker. It doesn't mean that being a tech worker is better than being a farmer, or that being a farmer is better than being a tech worker. It just means that they are different. But that is where Bloomberg screwed up. That's where he tripped over his own shoelaces by saying that you need more gray matter to be a tech worker. Not necessarily. It really shows the old adage. It demonstrates the old adage again, that everybody is an expert in things that they don't know anything about, right? Because it's usually in the things that that you see, but you don't know the first thing about. That you think, oh yeah, well, it's so easy, anybody can do that. That's actually one of the signs of greatness. By making it look so easy. You watch a great actor, for example. Okay, let's pull someone out of the hat. Let's pull out Brad Pitt. Okay, for a modern example, who just won Best Supporting Actor for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Something that, he gave a very good performance. If you want an older example, you think Robert Redford. Okay, in maybe The Natural, or 3 Days in the Condor. Go back even a little further. You think of someone like Humphrey Bogart, right? Or Cary Grant. All of these people, okay, actors, you watch their movies, and watching them, that little subconscious voice in your head whispers, you could be an actor? Look, it's so easy, right? You just memorize some lines and you say it in front of the camera, right? That is greatness at work. When people who are phenomenal at what they do, like all those actors are, and they make you think that you could actually do it. They make it look so easy that anybody could do it, okay? Because I'll be honest, when I'm watching Robert Redford or Humphrey Bogart in a movie, or heck, last summer when I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, watching Brad Pitt, that little voice was like, oh yeah, you know what? I could be an actor. I could do that. And then you start reading about everything that goes into being an actor, and you very quickly realize, no. I wouldn't last a week in that profession, okay? That, though, is a very human flaw. Thinking that everything that we don't know anything about is easy. And Bloomberg fell into that trap beautifully, because he's not a farmer. He thinks that being a farmer is very easy. I would like, actually, because he compared tech workers. I know a lot of people said, well, Mike Bloomberg, you get a farm and, you try it. That's not going to happen. What I would want to see is, I would like to see a bunch of people, tech workers, okay, a bunch of Google and Facebook employees, okay? I would like them to come out here to the Midwest, okay, and just live on a farm for 2 weeks, and then kind of just see if they could survive. You've got all these jobs. This has to be done. This has to be done. This has to be done, and this has to be done. Okay, and you could have a list of instructions as to how you do this particular job. Right? You could even have a seminar maybe before they came out to the Midwest, maybe a week-long seminar in farming. Okay, and then have it be for a month. Okay, and then they come out to the Midwest and they try to run a farm. or a couple of farms for a month, right? And let's see then how that happens. Let's see what happens after that. Because I guarantee you that they are going to go back to LA and to Silicon Valley with a much better appreciation for farming than they ever had before, right? Because farming isn't easy. I'm the grandson of a farmer, and my grandmother always said that a farmer is actually a gambler. Farmers are, honestly, the small family time farmers, they're some of the bravest people in the world, the most courageous, because there is no guarantee, right, that you're even going to be able to survive. One storm, one drought, one flood, anything like that. And your entire profit for the year is gone, right? That's something that very few people remember, I think. But no, this story, right, what Mike Bloomberg said, reiterated that really we are an interdependent society, right? Because we can't know everything that there is to know about everything. We need everyone, and we need all the different jobs. Farmers wouldn't be able to exist without electricians and plumbers, and construction workers, etc. All of those people wouldn't be able to exist without the farmers growing the food. We are all in this spider web of interconnection and interdependence. We just are, right? Now, has this hurt Bloomberg's chances? Not at all. I do not think at all. Again, because of that digital campaign that he is running very, very smartly, I think that is going to steamroll everything. All of these old comments, all of these old rumors, all of these terrible debate performances. This past week, he was in his first Democratic debate, was terrible at it. It's all going to be steamrolled away by his digital campaign. At least that's my gut instinct right now. But anyway, that is story number 2.